Dear colleagues, welcome back. For today, I have scheduled the overview of the last canto of Dante's Inferno. So, we are slowly approaching the end of our seminars. And there are only 3 topics left. Therefore, it is a good time to remind you the rules of final examination. To pass the final test, you need to carefully read Homer Odyssey, Virgil's Fourth Epilogue, and Dante's Inferno. All the text can be found in my shared Dropbox folder. I have already sent you the address via email. I also strongly recommend you read through my powerful PowerPoint slides. There they can be found in the same folder. Yeah? And try to answer the question in these slides. You can expect some of these questions in the final test. So, many of you are Erasmus students or foreigners, and although epidemiological situation in Czech Republic is quite good now, and quarantine and lockdown is practically over. I know that for many of you it would be very hard or even impossible to get to Prague only for passing the final exam. Yeah? Borders are closed. Therefore, I will prepare for you the online test in environment Moodle, consisting from 20 open questions. Yeah? And the first date for passing the test will be Tuesday, May the 19th and at 9:30. The second opportunity will be Monday, June the 1st, the penultimate one, Monday the 15th, and the last one, Monday, September the 7th. And I have 2 wishes on you. First, please register some of these dates of examination in SIS. Yeah, it is quite simply. You have to log in to the SIS, and in English there is application exam dates, and here you can find register, and here you can find these terms. Yeah, yes, these terms, and please choose one of them. Yeah. It is not obligatory and it is not necessary. However, it would save a little bit my time. And the final test can be found in Moodle, and you can find the address for Moodle in chat, and this is the correct address. Yeah, so you can you have to go there and log in. The login is the same as login and password is the same as to SIS. Yes, and then you can agree with the GDPR regulation, and then you have to found the course Cornerstones of Western Culture, Homer, Virgil, and Dante. And in this course, you can find final examination. At this moment, the final examination is hidden. It will be accessible in this date. In this date, approximately for 1 hour, for 60 minutes. And the final test is not finished at this moment. There is a lot of work for me to complete it. However, the final examination will consist from 20 open questions. Approximately 9 to Homer, 9 to Dante, and the rest are questions for Virgil. Each of you will be fill the unique version of the final examination. So please try to log in to the Moodle and find this course, and then wait for Tuesday, May 19, 9:30, and you will be able to pass the final exam online. So I think it was clear and uncomplicated. In the cases of problem, please write me an email, or you can left some notes in commentary and so on. And I will repeat the way and the whole procedure on the next and penultimate stream. So it is all, and now we can look back to the last seminar. On the last seminar, we proceeded with the third and fourth canto of Dante's Inferno, and the first questions is described over structure of Dante's Hell. So is two pictures. There is two useful pictures in the PowerPoint slides. So you can see that Dante's Hell is an inverted cone located beneath Jerusalem and reaching the center of the earth, and it consists from so-called anti-hell, here just beyond the hellish gate of hell, and the anti-hell is kind of antechamber of hell, and 9 circles. The first 5 circles are the upper hell, and the remaining the lower hell. Each circle is assigned by at least one monster or mythical animal. So the second question: explain how the time is measured in Dante's Hell. Time is running in Dante's Hell, however, the sun is not shining there. On the other hand, the moon is shining in the Dante's Hell. However, it is not the source of light, rather it is only a tool for measurement of time. Yeah? So the time is measured by the moon in Dante's hell. Next question. What is the nature of the light in the Dante's hell? In the fifth canto of Inferno, Dante speaks of the red, in Italian perzo, air in hell. However, the light in hell is essentially the moral light. This light is coming from sinners themselves and from their punishment. In what sense, another question, in what sense can Dante's hell be called a city? Dante was undoubtedly inspired by Saint Augustine's work De Civitas Dei. However, the image of the city also refers to the hellish Florence and its poetic life. So, the hell is not a free community of rebels, but kind of criminal colony, completely dependent on God's power. Yeah, it is very important. Yeah, it is not free city of rebels, yeah, criminal colony. Yeah. What are the four divine attributes in the inscription at the gate of hell in third canto of Inferno? These attributes are power, love, wisdom, and justice. Power, love, and wisdom mentioned in the inscription are the three main attributes of the Holy Trinity. The power corresponds to the God the Father, love to the God the Son, and wisdom to the God of the Holy Ghost. The last one is justice, and justice is a kind of unity of the three persons of Holy Trinity. We can, as it were. Yeah? So the sixth question: how it is possible that Dante's hell was created as an expression of God's love? It is stated in third canto of Inferno, verses 6 to 7. It states, "Divine power made me wisdom supreme and primal love." According to scholastic tradition, Dante considered the highest perfection of God as seen both in grace of salvation and in justice of damnation. Furthermore, God's absolute respect for human freedom must be taken into account. God cannot and does not want to save anyone against his will. And after all, God does not judge anyone. Man judges himself. How it is possible? From Christian point of view, the essence of human being is love. Human beings should naturally love their Creator in the first place, but human love can easily degenerate and incline to substitute the God for anyone and even anything else. The posthumous destiny of man, the destiny of man after death, is therefore only a prolongation of this inclination. So, the next question, explain verse 8 in third canto Inferno. Excuse me. Explain verse 8 from third canto of Inferno. Abandon all hope, you who enter here. Who passes through the gate of hell is to give up all hope. There is no escape from hell. Damnation in Dante's hell is eternal. There was only one exception, Roman Emperor Trajan. So, the 8th question: explain who are the neutrals and what is their punishment. We can found the neutrals in the 3rd canto of Inferno. So the neutrals have been over cautious in their lives, never holding any opinion, never espousing any principle, programmatically unwilling to offer any help to anybody. In the hell, they must forever follow a varying banner, constantly changing its direction. Therefore, they are forced to do just what they do not dare to do in their lives. To follow something, or to follow someone. In the hell, they are forced to take the completely opposite position. That is the main tenet of their punishment. So, the next question: explain 2 types of punishments met in Dante's hell. These are antithesis of guilt and so-called contrapasso. The antithesis of guilt means the hellish punishment is the just opposite to the committed crime of sin. On the other hand, the contrapasso presupposes the true punishment consists not in the negation, but, on the contrary, in the continuation of sin. There is a nice English idiom, stewing in one's own juice, and that is the core of contrapasso. So let's continue. The next question: what was the sin committed by those who are punished in the Dante's Limbus? Dante's Limbus is described in the 4th canto of Inferno. So, and Limbus is the dwelling place of those who have not committed any sin, only are burdened with the original sin. In Christian tradition, original sin can be only washed away by baptism, by Christian baptism. So all virtuous but unbaptized have to be dwelling here in the higher circle of hell. So, next question: what are 2 types of limbus distinguished by the scholastic tradition? The first is so-called limbus puerorum. Limbus puerorum. That is the limbus of children, where there are children who have died unbaptized and, due to their age, not committed any sin. The second one is so-called limbus patrum, the place where the righteous of the Old Testament had originally waited for Christ to open them the gate of heaven. So, next one question, also concerning the nature of limbus. What are the main differences between conception of limbus, punishments of Saint Thomas and Saint Bonaventure? So, Saint Thomas of Aquinas assumed that no one was actively punished in limbo. He supposed the infant, unbaptized children are not suffering except lacking the infinite joy of the vision of God's glory. On the other hand, the view of the Saint Bonaventura was a little bit darker. His limbus is a little bit darker place. Although children do not experience any pain or sorrow, they are deprived also of joy or happiness, even the natural ones. Therefore, Children in Saint Bonaventura Olympus are not happy or unhappy, and one scholar compared their status to a Buddhistic nirvana. So, last two questions. The next one. Explain how Dante's Olympus is structured and how his conception differ for scholastic authors. In addition to the traditional two types of Olympus, Olympus Puerum and Olympus Patrum, Dante introduces a third type mentioned in the rest of the fourth canto. It is so-called Olympus Gentium Virtuosum, and it is the Olympus of virtuous pagans, and Dante was often criticized for introducing it. The Olympus Gentium Virtuosum was Dante's innovation and great novelty in his time. So, and the last one question. Explain the doctrine of so-called descensus ad inferos and its meaning in the fourth canto of Inferno. According to Christian tradition and Christian creed, Christ descended to hell, and his descent took place during the Good Friday and Holy Saturday, when, on the one hand, crucified Jesus was lying in the grave. However, on the other hand, his soul descended to hell and led out the righteous patriarchs and matriarchs of Old Testament out of there. The motive of descensus ad inferos can be met again in the same end of Divine Comedy, where we can see the patriarchs and matriarchs among the souls of blessed in Empyreum, and the same structure of Empyreum is formed by the descensus ad inferos. It is a very important doctrine and very important concept for all Divine Comedy. So it was the last questions from the last seminar, and now turn our attention to today's topic. So in Canto 17th canto of Divine Comedy, with the help of the guardian Geryon, the pilgrim descended to the eighth circle of hell, also called Malebolge. Here is, yeah, Malebolge. And Malebolge means evil ditches, and you can see here 8 circle of hell, and here you can see some kind of tunnels of some kind of ditches, and from 8 the Malebolge consists from 8 ditches of this kind. And in these ditches, the various type of frauds are punished. Malebolge consists of total not 8 but 10 circular ditches, where the following sin and crimes are punished. In the first ditch are punished, the woman seducer are punished. In the second, flattery. It means to praise someone in order to make them feel attractive or important in a way that is not sincere. In the Simonist are in the third ditch. The sin of simony means the buying or selling of ecclesiastical privileges or offices. In the next ditch, the fortune tellers and astrologers can be found. In the in the fifth ditch, speculators, extortionists, blackmailers, so in simple words, unscrupulous businessmen. Yeah? The sixth ditch is the ditch of hypocrites. The next one is ditch of chiefs and robbers. The next, the ditch of bad counselors. The penultimate ditch is the ditch of initiators of strife in church and state. And the last one is the ditch of falsifiers or counterfeiters. It means falsifiers of metals, persons, money, or documents. And in the 31st canto, pilgrim reach the center of the 8th circle, where the well of giants is found. Yeah? Here, or here. Yeah, it's kind of deep well of giants. And Virgil persuades the giant Antaeus to bring them to the bottom of this well, right into the 9th circle, and thus into the deepest underworld. Descending here, Dante is surpassing Virgil's Aeneas. In Aeneas and Sibyl in Virgil's Aeneid, in the classical masterpiece, which was the source of inspiration for Dante. So the Aeneas and Sibyl do not enter the deepest underground. They turn right at the intersection and head instead of Tartar to Elysium, the place of blissful soul. So in Aeneid, sixth book of Aeneid. However, the Dante is descending to the deepest hell, to the 9th circle of hell. And the 9th circle of Dante's hell is the circle of traitors. The deeper we descend to hell, the blacker the sin, the more severe the punishment, and the less dramatic life in that place. In the last and smallest of the hellish circle, in the 9th circle of hell, the punishment is gradually, as it were, disembodied. The last circle is a frozen hell, and it is divided into 4 concentric parts, each of which is slightly lower and smaller, and they are together represent 4 bands of the frozen river Cocytus. The 9th circle consists from following parts. The first part is so-called Kaina. Yeah? Kaina is the first part of the 9th circle. And there the traitors to parents and relatives can be found. It is named after Cain, the first murderer. In Kaina, condemned can still cry and express his feelings as pain or cold. The second part of 9th circle is so-called Antenora. And in Antenora, the traitors of homeland can be found. It is named according to Antenor of Troy, the grandson of Priam, who wanted to surrender Helen, beautiful Helen, to Menelaus. And after Paris refused, he betrayed the city to the Greeks. Antenor was also the mythical founder of the Italian town Padua, the rival city of Florence. However, the source of these legends about founding Padua are not Homeric and not Virgilian. In Antenora, tears are taken away from sinners, which become frozen and hard as crystal, and as it were, fill sinners' eye sockets, so they are unable to cry. The penultimate part of 8th circle is called Ptolemea. In Ptolemea can be found the traitors of guests and friends can be found. The Ptolemea is named apparently, or its name is apparently an allusion to Ptolemy from one of apocryphal book of Old Testament, from first Maccabean book. And in this book is presented the traitor Ptolemy. So that is this passage. Now Ptolemy, son of Abiudus, had been appointed governor over the plain of Jericho. He had a large store of silver and gold, for he was son-in-law of the high priest. His head was lifted up. He determined to get control of the whole country, and made treacherous plans against Simon and his son. Simon Maccabean was the ruler and very famous general of Israel in this time. So Ptolemy made treacherous plans against Simon and his son to do away with them. Now Simon was visiting the towns of the country and attending to their needs, and he went down to the Jericho with his son Mattathias and Judas in the 177th year, in the 11th month, which is the month of Shebat. The son of Abiudus received them treacherously in the little stronghold called Dog, which have been built. He gave them a great banquet and hid his men there. When Simon and his sons were drunk, Ptolemy and his men rose up, took their weapons, rushed in against Simon in the banquet hall, and killed him and his 2 sons, as well as some of his servants. So he committed an act of great treachery and returned evil for good. In Ptolemea, that is the story behind the Ptolemea. The Ptolemea is probably named again according to this Ptolemy from the book of Maccabean. So, and the nature of punishment in the Ptolemea is following. In Ptolemea, speech is taken away from the sinners. The whole body is buried in ice and shines through it like straw in glass, as stated in the 34 canto of Inferno. And the last and the cruelest part of 9th circle is Judecca. In Judecca, traitors of benefactors, traitors of emperor, and traitors of gods are punished. The punishment there means the total loss of any interpersonal contact. The Lucifer can be found in the center of Judecca, and as we will see, Lucifer is an exemplary image of this crystal and petrified world. Lucifer is inanimate, immobile, stiff and speechless. And Lucifer's speech is taken away probably as the punishment for seducing Eve. Yeah? But that is the general trait of the last part of ninth circle of Dante's hell. Yeah? Frozen hell, where is excluded any social interaction, any social contact. Yeah? So let's say some words about figure of Satan. Yeah? Or Lucifer. In Romantic Literature, or in Milton, for example, in his Paradise Lost, Satan is often portrayed as a magnanimous and crafty rebel or revolutionary, exiled from heaven, who actively plans to return there with even more determination to fight. Dante's Lucifer, on the other hand, is stuck in the center of the whole universe and bearing its full weight. He had to be precisely at this place, in the center of Earth, just because the Earth itself is the center of the universe, and therefore its center is the point with the greatest distance from Empyreum as dwelling place of God. If the Lucifer, during his fall, exceeded this point, this center of the Earth, and had fallen over, he would have become to return to God again. The fall of Lucifer opened it. The fall of Lucifer opened it a hell gap for, as stated in Inferno 34, for the land left to leave it empty, thus filling up and forming an island with the Mount Purgatory, located exactly in the middle of Southern Ocean, Southern Hemisphere. So, Jerusalem here and Purgatory Mountain have the same horizon but different hemisphere, as stated in Purgatorio, in the 4th canto Purgatorio. Lucifer is motionless and completely paralyzed. However, not frozen in ice, but stuck in place, that is, as far away from God as possible. In this place, Lucifer is trapped by the law of gravity, so needing no shackles or chains. It combines physical pain and mental hardness. Lucifer is not moaning, begging, crying, threatening, and so on. The resulting impression, as we will see, is enormous, colossal, and does hate. So, Saint Augustine claimed the evil is merely a privatum bonum. Privatum bonum is only privatum bonum. It means the evil is only a lack of good. That is, the evil has no ontological status, not ontological status. Lucifer is the greatest evil and is therefore the least alive and the least real. That is the reason. That is another reason he does not speak. He is just sticking in the lowest circle of hell. So now let us turn our attention to the text of the last canto of Inferno. Vexilla regis produent inferno, tower thus. Look straight before you and see if you can make him out, my master said, as when a thick mist rises, or when our hemisphere darkens tonight, one may discern a distant windmill by its turning sails. It seemed to me I saw such a contrivance and to avoid the wind, I drew in close behind my reader. There was nowhere else to hide. Now I shudder as I write it out in verse. It was where the shades were only covered. Oh, I'm sorry. Only cover it, showing through like bits of straw in glass. Some are lying down, still others stand erect. Some with their heads and some with their footsoles up. Some bent like bows, their faces to their toes. When we had gotten far enough along, then my master was pleased to let me see the creature who was once so fair of face. He took a step aside, then brought me to a halt. Look there at this, and see the place where you must arm yourself with fortitude. Then how faint and frozen I became. Reader, do not ask, for I do not write it, since any words would fail to be enough. I did not die, nor did I stay alive. Imagine, if you have the wit, what I became, deprived of either state. The emperor of the woeful kingdom rose from the ice below his breasts, and I in size am closer to a giant than giants are when measured to his arms. Judge, then, what the whole must be that is proportional to such a part, if he was fair as he is hideous now, and raised his brow in scorn of his creator. He is fit to be the source of every sorrow. Oh, what a wonder it appeared to me, when I perceived 3 faces on his head. The first in front was red in color, another 2 he had, each joined with this, above the midpoint of each shoulder, and all the 3 united at the crest. The one on the right was a whitish yellow, while the left hand one was tinted like the people living at the source of the Nile. Beneath each face 2 mighty wings emerged, such as befit so vast a bird. I never saw such a massive sail at sea. They were feathery and fashioned like a bat's wings. When he flapped them, he sent forth 3 separate winds, the source of the eyes upon Cocytus. Out of 6 eyes he wept, and his 3 chins dripped tears and drawed blood red saliva. With his teeth, just like a hackle, bowed in flex, he champed a sinner in each mouth, tormenting 3 at once. For the one in the front, the gnawing was a trifle, to the clawing for the time to time. His back was left with no a shred of skin. That soul up there who bears the greatest pain, said the master, is Judas Iscariot, who has his head within and outside flays his legs. As for the other 2, whose heads are dangling down, Brutus in hanging from the swarthy snout, see how he writhes, and others not a word. And from the other, Cassius, so arch of limb, but night is risen in the sky. It's time for us to leave, for we have seen it all. So, and my commentary of this part. The canto begins with a Latin verse, a parody of 6th century Christian hymn by Venantius Fortunatus, and this hymn was sung during Vespers in Holy Week. That is the time, that is the week from Palm Sunday to Resurrection Sunday. And Vexilla Regis Prodeunt means, in English, abroad the royal banners fly, now shines the cross mystery Open it life did death endure, and yet by death did life procure. So, Virgil was singing this hymn in proper time, because it is White Sunday in the dramatic time of Divine Comedy. That is traditional time of Vespers in Holy Week. However, Virgil adds to the hymn the word inferni, that is vexilla regis prodeunt inferni, and it means the banners of the king of hell are coming. Therefore, the hymn is a parody or even blasphemy of the traditional Christian hymn. Of course, Satan does not come; he is motionless, and Virgil alludes apparently just on impression created by the blowing air caused, as we will see, by the flapping of Satan's wings. Satan is compared to a mill, apparently a windmill, which was quite common in Tuscany in Dante's time. Why is this image used? Lucifer is motionless, and his rule over hell is realized through the airflow caused by flapping of his bat wings. Remember the flying banner in the limbus. Yeah? At the same time, it is obviously a parody of the Holy Spirit. Greek word pneuma, pneumahagion, it is in Greek Holy Spirit. So the word pneuma means in Greek both spirit as well as the wind. And the Holy Spirit is the symbol of God's presence on earth. However, the Holy Spirit is associated with fire, but the wind caused by flapping of Lucifer's wings is cold. And Dante tried to hide behind Virgil, which is quite strange and even absurd idea. Virgil is nothing but an immaterial shadow, and as such he cannot protect Dante's body. In the 10th verse, Dante meets sinners from this circle. They are frozen in the ice, some horizontally, another vertically, up and down, others variously twisted. We don't know who they are. They are completely dehumanized. Similar to the neutrals just behind the gate of hell in the third canto, as we have already seen. The rest of the first part of canto, from verse 19 to verse 69, is devoted to the description of Satan. Virgil introduces him. Look there at these. In Italian, ecco dite, which is a clear allusion to the famous saying ecce homo from Gospel according to John. These are the word of Pilate, where the Pilate is showing the Jesus to the crowd just before Jesus' crucifixion. Ecce homo, it's very, very famous Christian motive. So Virgil calls Lucifer the classic name Dis, the same name. This is the same name as the ruler of the underworld in Virgil Aeneid. It is worth remembering that Dis in Divine Comedy is the name above for a hellish city. It was introduced in the Inferno 9, in the 9th canto of Inferno, as well as a person, Lucifer himself. And the correspondence between a city and a person seems to be strange. However, we can find such correspondence in the book of Apocalypse, where cities are personified as women. The harlot represents the city of Rome, whereas bride represents the heavenly Jerusalem. Yeah? So here you can see on the map of Dante's Inferno, yeah? The gate of Dis. Yeah? The gate of Dis is the gate of hellish city. Yeah? The hellish city consists from lower hell, yeah? And the lower hell is presented as a city, yeah? with the lower hell is an circuit with wall. Yeah? There is a gate to the city, and the person of Satan, yeah? Is called Dis as well. The lower hell, or hellish city of lower hell itself, yeah? And it is correspondence between the city of Dis and the person of Dis, yeah? And Dante was probably inspired by book of Apocalypse. From the given proportion, in verses 30 and 31st, it's stated, and I in size am closer to a giant than giants are when measured to his arm. And from canto and from 31st canto of Inferno, which the size of giants is given, scholars calculated the size of Dante's Lucifer. Their estimations varies between 600 meters, of which 300 meters is covered with ice, and 400 meters, of which about 180 meters rises from the ice. It means Dante's Lucifer is tall as 100-story building, approximately. So, Lucifer was originally the most brilliant of the angels. His greatness indicated now only his enormous mass. It is indeed frightening and cruel fate, and we feel almost sorry for it. Despite his regrettable situation, Satan nevertheless retains some grandeur even after his fall, recalling his angelic origin. Dante is impressed. In verse 37 is stated, "What a wonder it appeared to me." And in the same time, Satan is portrayed as a parody of Christ. His present form refers to the Christ crucifixion. Satan has 3 heads in which he crushes 3 sinners. Yeah? The motive of the 3-headed Lucifer is quite obscure. As far as I know, there is no parallel to it. Apparently, it is a parody of the Trinity, influenced by the ceiling mosaic of the Florentine baptistery, as you can see on this picture. However, strictly speaking, Satan from the ceiling of Florentine baptistery does not have 3 heads. However, you can see here 3 sinners crushed in 3 mouths of Lucifer. There are some scholarly disputations concerning the colors of Lucifer's heads. Some commentators give it a moralistic interpretation, red is anger, yellow, white, impotence, and black, ignorance. Others interpret them as an allusion to the three races of man, red or pink, yellow, and black. Finally, the Satan has 6 wings. This is another reminder of his angelic origin. 6 wings correspond to the common description of the highest angelic order of seraphim. You can find this detail in the book of Isaiah, chapter 6. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of the hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. So the 6 wings is the important attribute of the angelic grade of seraphim, and you can see in ultimate canto of Dante's Inferno that the Satan has also six wings, 3 pairs of wings. The only sign the Lucifer is alive, that is not a fossilized statue, is that Lucifer is crying. It is his own emotion, perhaps despair mixed with rage, both of which are eternal. However, it is kind of Dante's inconsistency, because Lucifer should not cry in Judaica. Sinners could not cry in Antenora. Their tears would immediately freeze. However, it could be also another parody of Christ's crucifixion, alluding to the blood and water came out from Jesus' side, as stated in the Gospel according to John chapter 19. So there are 3 sinners in Lucifer's 3 mouths. Judas Iscariot as a traitor of Christ, Brutus and Cassius as traitors of Caesar, the first emperor of Rome. Dante meant the Caesar as the first emperor of God's established empire. Judas is the worst tortured, his back is skinned, which is obviously the antithesis of the flogging of Christ. Brutus and Cassius are treated a little bit less savage. It is quite paradox, however, that their co-conspirator, Cato the Younger, will be found in the next canto at the foot of the Purgatory Mountain as its guardian. And we will see him there. Next seminar. The crushing of sinners in Lucifer's mouth is probably a parody of Eucharist, but in this way Dante also associates Lucifer with ancient deity Saturnus, or in Greek Kronos, which was devouring his children according to ancient mythology. According to astrological speculation, moreover, the planet Saturn affects floods, frost, death, and betrayal, and we meet its full influence in the night circle of hell. Finally, note that Brutus, unlike Cassius, is silent. It is meant perhaps as a sign of his stoic behavior. In any case, his silence gives Brutus a certain greatness or certain gentility. So now pilgrims are at the same bottom of hell. In verses 22 to 27, Dante turns to the reader in the direct talk. This happens only very rarely and in Divine Comedy, and something very important is always introduced. According to some commentators, the address should be read as the pinnacle of Dante's repentant descent to hell. Dante is dying to his sin, and ascension will follow. So the second part of ultimate canto of Inferno is devoted to ascent from hell. The ascent begins in the verse 68. Virgil said, "It is time for us to leave, for we have seen it all." And this verse is located exactly in the middle of the canto, whose other half is entirely devoted to the ascent from hell, of hell. The beginning of the ascent is precisely determined by the words, "But night is rising in the sky, so it is 6 o'clock in the evening of the White Saturday." The journey through hell took exactly 24 hours. Ascent will also take 22 hours. At the ascent, verses 102 and 105, Dante asks Virgil 3 questions. Where is the ice? Why is Lucifer upside down? And how can it be the morning? So let's read the last part of this canto. At this request, I clasped him round the neck. When the wings had opened wide enough, he chose the proper time and place, and took a handhold on those hairy flanks. Then from hank to hank he clambered down, between the thick pelt and crusted eyes. When he had come to where the fine bone swivels at the broad part of hips, my leader, with much strain of limb and breath, turned his head where Satan had his shanks, and clung to the hair like a man climbing upward, so that I thought we were heading back to hell. Hold on tight, for by such ranks as these, said my master, panting like a man exhausted, must we depart from so much evil. Then out through an opening in the rock he went, setting me down upon its edge to rest, and then, with quick and cautious step, he joined me. I raised my eyes, thinking I would see Lucifer still the same as I had left him, but saw him with his legs held upward, and I became confused with those dull minds who fail to see what point I'd passed, comprehend what I felt then. The master said to me, "Get to your feet, for the way is long and the road not easy, and the sun returns to Middle Tirsit." It was not the great hall of palace, where we were, but a natural dungeon, rough underfoot and wanting light. "Master, before I tear myself from this abyss," I said, once I had risen, "say a few words to rid me of my doubt. Where is the ice? Why is this one fixed now upside down? And how is so few hours has the sun moved from evening into morning?" And he to me, "You imagine you are still beyond the center, when I grasp the hair of the guilty worm by whom the world is pierced. So you were as long as I descended, but when I turn around, you pass the point, to which all waits or draw from every side. You are now beneath the hemisphere, opposite to the one that canopies the landmass, and underneath its zenith that man was slain, who without sin was born and sin was swift. You have 4 feet upon a little sphere that form Judeca's other face. Here it is morning, when it is evening there, and the one whose hair provided us order, is fixed exactly as he was before. It was on this side that he fell from heaven, and the dry land that used to stand above, in fear of him, immersed itself in water, and fled into our hemisphere, and perhaps, to escape from him, the land will find above, created this lacuna, when it rushed back up, as far as one can get from Beelzebub, in the remotest corner of this cavern. There is a place one cannot find by sight, but by the sound of narrow stream that trickles through a channel it has cut into the rock. In its meanderings, making a gentle slope, into that hidden passage my guide and I entered, to find again the world of light, and without thinking of a moment's rest, we climbed up, he first and I behind him, far enough to see, through a round opening, a few of those fair things the heavens bear. Then we came forth to see again the stars. So, the answer to the second question, why is Lucifer head down, is following. Pilgrims come close to Lucifer's side, catch his hair and begin to climb down, that is, toward its feet. It's toward his feet. Now our imagination needs to be strained. In verses 74 to 78 is stated, when he had come to where the fine bone swivels at the broad part of the hips, my leader, with much strain of limb and breath, turned his head where Satan had his shanks, and clung to her like a man climbing upward, so that I thought we were heading back to hell. So, this place corresponds to Lucifer rectum. Here is the very center of the earth, according to Dante. Lucifer rectum is the exact center of earth, and also the center of universe, and that is the place that is furthest from God. And here the direction of gravity changes, and therefore Virgil must turn upside down. Yeah? You can see it on this picture. Yeah? Here is the Lucifer rectum, and at this point the Virgil and Dante have to turn upside down. Why? Because the gravity, the direction of gravity is changing exactly at this point at the center of Earth. Yeah? The answer to the first question, where is the ice, is following. Lucifer is not frozen in the ice in the Dante's hell. The ice even does not touch Lucifer's body. What holds Lucifer in his place is the weight of whole cosmos. He is at its center, and that is a reason why Virgil and Dante can climb at his side. Virgil talks about stairs, or precisely speaking about ladder in verse 82nd, and the ladder is probably the leading symbol of the whole Divine Comedy. They climb Lucifer's feet until they reach a rift in the rock. Dante sees Lucifer legs upside down in verse 19. I saw him with his legs held upwards, because, as we have already know, the direction of gravity has changed. The answer to the third and last question, how can it be the morning, is following. To understand Dante's, or more precisely the traditional division of time, it is necessary to know the day traditionally begins with the sunrise and ends with sunset. They used to be divided into 12 sections, regardless of whether it was winter or summer, of which the following were significant. Prima, it was the moment of sunrise. Tertia, it was third hour. Sixta, sixth hour, it was noon. Nona, night hour. And vespers, evening or sunset, 12 hour. They used to be divided into 12 hours. However, the hours could be of different length in different seasons. That is, either longer as hours in summer or shorter hours in winter. In verse 96, in the verse 90, in the verse 96, it is said that sun returns to middle terce. So the time is measured the time is measured for the first time in Inferno according to sun. However, the sun cannot shine in hell, so it is necessarily meant sunrise on the second hemisphere where pilgrims climb. Tertia is the time about 3 hours after sunrise. So according to our calculation, it is 7 hours and 30 minutes. In the morning, according to sunrise in the southern hemisphere. Just before, there was twilight of White Saturday on northern hemisphere. See verse 68. But night is risen in the sky, and the sun rises in the southern hemisphere in this same moment. And it means it is again the morning of the White Saturday which Dante once experienced it. So, therefore, Dante saved 12 hours of time on his journey. How can I say it is just 7:30 when the hours may have been unequally length in traditional conception of time? The answer is simple. The dramatic date of the Divine Comedy falls near the spring equinox, and in that time the sunrise occurs around 6 a.m. and sunset at about 6 p.m. The pilgrims they took about an hour and a half to climb down a few feet into a rocky gap when the road to the other hemisphere leads. As you can see here. You can see here that is the center of Earth, and then you can see here the inverted cone of hell. Here is the center of hell, and here you can see the gap and the path to the southern hemisphere, to the Mount Purgatory. The answer to Dante's questions are Virgil's last words in hell. In verse 121, it was on this side that he fell from heaven. It is another reminiscent of the fall of Lucifer, the first event of time after the formation of Earth. Dante believes in absolute directions, up, down, left and right. Therefore, the direction of Lucifer's fall is absolute. It is also a moral fall to the absolute bottom. Lucifer hit the southern hemisphere. The ground escaped, as stated by Dante, to the other hemisphere, and his fall pushed the mountain of Purgatory, and Lucifer was stuck in the middle of air for the reason for the reasons we have already said. 3 more notes concerning this canto. In verse 115, it is stated, who, the one without sin, the poor one, who without sin was born and sinless lived. And that is another periphrasis of Christ's name. Jesus is never mentioned by his name in hell, except for short mention in 19th canto of Inferno. The name of Holy Virgin is debuted in hell in a similar way. In verse 127, it is said that the creek flows through the rift from the end of the cave. And the creek probably flow from purgatory, and it is in fact the river Lethe that will encounter in the earthly paradise atop the purgatory mountain. To the hell, the river Lethe carries the forgiven sins of those who purify on the purgatory mountain. The usual medieval notion was the great rivers like the Nile flow a long distances underground. In verse 139, Dante and Virgil emerge from hell, and they can see the stars again in the morning sky just before dawn. The name Lucifer, in Greek phosphoros, means light bearer, and it is also the traditional name of the planet Venus. Venus means morning star, and Venus in Greek was Phosphoros. Dante mentions it as the deliberate contrast. The last word of both Purgatorio and Paradiso is stelle. In Italian, in English it means stars. The stars are, according to Aristotle and Plato, divine living beings, because the stars do not fall to center of earth, or they are as well do not fly away from their places, but they do their regular circular movements. They must have soul, according to Plato and Aristotle, and therefore they have to be divine beings. According to Dante, stars attract human eyes and lead man to the God. Therefore, the first part of Divine Comedy ends happily and, as it were, joyfully, as the whole comedy does. And that is the reason why it is indeed a true comedy, a dramatic story with a happy ending, as stated by Aristotle in his Poetic. In his Poetic, Aristotle states about comedy. It is characteristic of comedy where those who are bitter enemies in the story, for as Orestes and Aegisthus, for instance, go off in the end having made friends and nobody kills anybody. And tragedy stands in the same relation of difference to comedy. For the one, it means comedy, tends to take as subject man worse than the generally run, and the other, tragedy, takes men better than they are. So, and now our time is nearly up, so thank you for your attention and see you next week. Bye bye.